Hi friends, today we'll be stitching the leaves from the floral alphabet. Let's get started. All leaves will be stitched in the same manner. We'll be stitching each side half of the leaf at a time. For the right hand side of the first leaf, we'll be starting with the lightest shade of green, the avocado green ultra light. Fill in the first row using long and short stitches. For this first row, and of course for the others, make sure not to leave any gaps between your stitches. This is particularly important for the first row because this is gonna give you the tone for the entire long and short stitch shading. As you notice, I'm using just one strand of thread. This is more or less the standard for needle painting projects. Why? Because when using one strand of thread, it's much easier to create these beautiful transitions between the colors and create that beautiful seamless shading. Another thing, if you notice, I'm stitching at an angle. You should follow the same direction, basically stitching towards the inside. Now my apologies if this series of videos will be a bit shaky. The reason for that is, to be honest, I cannot and I don't like stitching needle painting projects using a hoop stand because you always have to move around your hoop following the direction of your stitches. That's why it's a bit shaky, and I'm sorry for that. Now let's have a word on the needle painting technique, the long and short stitch basically. Now this is very well explained during our email class stitch along series, and also if you downloaded this pattern, I try to explain it as much as I can in the stitch guide you have downloaded. Now when stitching using the long and short stitch, basically if you just starting out, you need to understand and get rid of the idea of following 100% this idea that you need to stitch one long stitch, one short stitch, one long, one short. Well, the long and short stitch is indeed like stitching long and short stitches, but it's more like a staggered stitching, and how you need to think about this is from the perspective of a like drawing or a painting and real life. So what are we trying to achieve is basically mimicking the real life. Where is the light hitting our shape? Where are the midtones and where are the shadows? So that's exactly how you need to think about it, because in most cases, especially for botanical elements, when you're trying to stitch botanical elements, you'll have to stitch many times under angles, under I don't know, weird shapes, like round shapes or oval shapes, or it's not gonna be as straightforward as you see it in most of the tutorials on YouTube. So the best way to think about it is like, okay, where do I want to lay down my lightest shades? Basically, where is in real life the light hitting my shape? So you will be stitching indeed, let's call them irregular stitches, and this is very close. It's basically an irregular satin stitch. That's exactly what it is. When stitching the second row, that's when you change to a different shade. Bring your needle up to the previous first row of stitches, not down. So this is a very important thing to remember. Going down into stitches will create pepper marks and your work will look rough and uneven. As you see, I switched to a different shade of green, a bit darker, the avocado green, very light, and I'm creating my second row of long and short stitches. Now a few things to consider for a nice shading. First of all, don't overlap multiple stitches on top of each other. Just try to lay down your stitches parallel, and of course don't leave any gaps in between your stitches. So if you see any gaps, go back and add a few stitches to fill them. More things to consider for a nice shading. So avoid rigid bands of stitching. Your row should look staggered to create a soft blending between the shades. If your rows look like straight bands, that won't look good, so you need to go on and add the irregular stitches to break the line up. Always we are starting from the wider area towards the narrow area of our shape. Adjust your stitches to follow the direction of the shape you're trying to fill, and avoid changing direction abruptly. Instead, change the stitching angle gradually. For the third row of long and short stitches, I will switch to an even darker shade of green, the avocado green, and I will continue filling long and short stitches until this right hand side of my leaf is completed. This is a slow, personal and subjective process. Stitch until you're happy with the result. What I usually do is turn around my hoop very often and look at it and see, do I need to add more adjustment stitches or am I happy with the result? Don't worry, you can always go back and adjust it, add a few more adjustment stitches and get it where you want it to be. For the other half of my leaf, the left hand side, I'm still stitching with the avocado green. The shade I used as the darkest shade for the right hand side, and then I'll be making the transition to the darkest shade, the avocado green, very dark. The reason for that is you'll be wanting to stitch one side of the shade of the leaf in lighter colors, lighter shades, and the other half in darker shades. Why is that? Because we are trying to mimic real life, and go on and go outside and pick up a leaf, you'll notice the sun is not hitting, the light is not hitting in the same way the two halves of a leaf. So that's the reason, and it's increasing contrast between the two. If we would be using the same shades for both sides, that would not look realistic and it would be boring. Now I switch to a darker shade of green, the avocado green, very dark, and I'll be stitching and filling my second row with long and short stitch. This will almost fill my entire left hand side, but as you'll see, I will leave just a tiny bit at the end where I'll fill with an even darker shade of green. For the third row, I'm switching to the darkest shade of green, the avocado green black, and I will be completing my left hand side of the shape. As you see, it's already looking lovely. It's just not quite there yet. Just to complete it and define it a bit better, I will go on and add outlines around my shape and outline the middle vein using split stitch and using the same darkest shade of green used so far, the avocado green black. So basically you're not switching to a different shade. Just keep the last shade and go on and add these outlines. This will define your shape better and create a bit more contrast. Now just to recap and make it even simpler, the entire leaves were stitched with using 6 shades of green. The first 3 shades are the lightest and medium tones. The next 3 are darker and the darkest. Now we'll be filling half of the leaf with the first 3 shades, the lighter ones, and the other half will be stitched using the next 3 shades, the darker. When you're done filling the shape, just go on and outline your leaf and the middle vein using the darkest or one of the darker shades of green. Key when choosing your colors, your threads, is remember to always use shades from the same tonal family. Why is that? For example, if you would be using a warm green combined with a cool green, that will break your shading. It will not look nice. So guys, this is the process you'll be applying when stitching the rest of the leaves. Now use this video tutorial as a guide in addition with the instructions I'm sending you via email, or if you downloaded this pattern, the stitch guide you'd have downloaded. If you're new here, you can download the entire alphabet from my Etsy shop and use the promo code MAKER20 for a 20% discount. Now, if you cannot afford or you don't want to purchase it, that is totally fine. This pattern is currently going as a free class, free email class as well. So what you can do, you can subscribe and get these tutorials directly in your email. Learn about the technique. We are stitching together the letter H and this pattern you're currently watching. And then you can apply the learnings to your own patterns and create your own floral alphabets. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll be back with a tutorial for stitching the flower and the letter. Bye!